Hello, not the usual video. I was just reminded of something. Well, I wasn't reminded, it's refreshed my memory. I mentioned in my last video that I used to write short stories and I placed them on my blog. I haven't touched it in ages. It's still out there. The link is the first link on my channel. If you go to my channel page, there's a highlighted link right there, writersrelease.blogspot.com. I've had it for years. It was literally just a place for me to vent and do little stories. If you go back, some of the things I wrote at the time, quite amateurish and very opinionated, and nobody was reading it. You know, I had an audience of 0 or maybe 1 or 2. But I did get into writing some short stories. Now, I've always liked writing short stories. I did enjoy it immensely during school. I remember one of the first stories I wrote was a story called Hedge Horse. It was part of an essay. The subject was 2 animals that don't normally get together, and yeah, it was called Hedge Horse. I even included how the hedgehog and the horse got together in the fertile mind of an 11-year-old. Go figure. I completely plagiarised a story from a kid's book. Hopefully nobody noticed, but it was several years ago. But it was nearly 40 years ago, so God help us. The next big one I remember writing was in grammar school. It was for my GCSEs, General Certificate of Secondary Education. Is that still a thing? I don't know. But it was basically a Rambo rip-off. Guy got trapped behind enemy lines and his friend was completely forbidden to go out and rescue him, and he went out and rescued him anyway, stole a helicopter, threw grenades under huts. Basically genocide to rescue one man. I don't know how well it did. I got a D in English language. No, I got a C in English language. I did quite well. So I passed, I got that. So it must have been good enough. And then a long fallow season of me not writing much until I worked at a hotel, and I wrote a short story based at the hotel, again quite amateurish at the time, very focused on the Ford probe that was coming out at the time. It was set within the hotel, terrorists, something or other, I can't remember. Anyway, oh yeah, it was about a headband or something that you could control electronics with. How naive was I back then? Anyway, the point of the story is my blog, which I've got, I'll provide the link to below this video. 5 short stories. There are 6. There is another one further down. I can't be bothered to find it. It's not very good. What I used to do was I used to ask friends and whoever for 5 nouns, 5 words, or 5, 5 anything really, and I try to base the story off of that. The first one I'm going to point out, I'm going to go in increasing levels of what I think is quality or substantive storytelling. Is that even a phrase? First one is Big Top. This one was based on the 5 words given to me by my friend Jamie, my dear departed friend Jamie from Sand Spring in Oklahoma. She's no longer with us. Bless her, love her to bits. Absolutely scatty woman, mad as a bag of frogs. Love her to bits. She gave me the words and it was like Big Top Circus, something like that. Anyway, there's this little story. Couple get lost run out of petrol, the car breaks down in the woods, and the husband goes off to find help, finds himself in an old circus. That's enough. Next one is probably, I actually quite like the next 4. Heart-shaped face, little bit. I mean, this is published years ago. I mean, the link I'm going to give is 2011. I think if it's not Twilight Zone, it's probably Black Mirror. This is more Black Mirror than anything else. Young up-and-coming yuppie gets a job in a new office, doesn't quite realise the implications, long-term implications. It goes actually, in retrospect, is a little bit like Don't Worry Darling, the newish film with Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. A little bit of undertones of that, sort of. Yeah, I think the keywords there for skeleton key. If you click on the links, if I've used the 5-word premise to write the story, I've actually mentioned what the 5 words were. What would be next? I would say watch the news. This one came to me a little bit with the advent of Anonymous, the hacker group or what have you. Kind of linked to them, sort of. The one thing I do like about this story is it's geographically correct. It's completely set in London. You know how much I love London. You can follow the route on the map where they go and what they do. I didn't know as much about London as I do now. It goes from Shaftesbury Avenue, goes across the back of Leicester Square, through Leicester Square, down to Trafalgar Square, and goes through the old Trocadero. If you don't know what the old Trocadero was, look it up. It was the gaming mecca of London. They had all the new machinery and what have you, all new arcade games, and there's a part of the story that's based around that. A guy called Greg, I think, is in it. Anyway, next two, the last two are, the first one's Bleeding. My dinner's ready. If you hear the beeping, I will get that in a second. Bleeding. I cut my finger open. I was at work and I was undoing a pack of 9mm ply with metal banding, which you have to snip through, and I just cut straight through my finger, and that did not stop bleeding for quite some time. I did write it down in the accident book, but that just got me to a story of what happened if you had somebody who never stopped bleeding. In fact, they never stopped bleeding to the point where their body generated too much blood. Johnsinium nomium creor. I think I looked up what the Latin phrase would be, so that gets a mention. I keep on trying to. I was going to try and do this in GTA 5 Studio Maker, but just couldn't get it to work. Final one, and the one I kind of have the most backstory with, is Green Fingers. This is very Twilight Zone, or something along those lines. The story of it is, my friend Mike, who lives out in America, he used to be from England, he's emigrated out to America. He's actually, you would have seen him before, you would have seen part of him if you've ever watched Shaun of the Dead. When the hands are banging on the windows of the Winchester, he's the hand on the right hand side doing that. I shit you not, he actually did that to laugh. He used to have a blog on the same format called The Curveball Conspiracy. I don't think it's there anymore. And he basically used to invite people to write a short story, 500 words or less, based on a picture. And the picture he sent me was just a picture of a garden centre, or whatever they call them in America, and it just had a sign up saying, "Corpse stinky flower now blooming." I remember it vividly. It looked like it was shot from across the street. And that's the Titan arum, which is the flower that's, when it blooms once every 25 years, and when it does, it stinks like rotten flesh. So the whole thing was about this garden centre and this woman who goes into the garden centre to get some flowers or something, and it goes from there. All of my stories, completely inadvertently, always end up being really quite creepy. I don't mean them to be. The one story I didn't deliberately tried not to make story is the one that's somewhere else on the blog. I can't even remember what it's called, but it's there somewhere. Green Fingers, the last one I just spoke about, did the most for me. Well, didn't really do that much for me, but it was at one point going to be turned into a short movie or a short film. A friend of mine, Nathan, hi Nathan, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but hi Nathan, he knew somebody who was a director of, like a student director, that kind of thing, and he optioned the film or the short story, and he asked me to do a screenplay, which I have. I still got it knocking around somewhere, because the original short story I liked so much, I made it into a full story, padding out the characters. I even get an early treatment of where the characters got their inspiration for being who they were. And if you read the story, you'll find out what I'm talking about. And if you really want to know more about it, I will try to remember, but only upon request. But unfortunately, it didn't go that well. The director rewrote the script to a degree I wasn't happy with, particularly a couple of the lines that one of the main characters said, and so it kind of fizzled out into nothing, and nothing happened with it. So, but anyway, that's enough. Those are my short stories. Like I said, I'll provide a link below if you want to. If you've got short term, they are a few pages each. They aren't amazingly formatted. They're not fantastically written in the grand scheme of things in retrospect, but I like them, I'm fond of them, and I'm a little bit proud of them. So please take the time, if you will, have a read. What I might do is I'll give it a day and I'll put up a poll on the community. If you just want to say which one you like in the comments below, please do. God knows I need the encouragement. And I'll put up a poll up tomorrow once enough people have seen this or whatever, responded to it, just to say which one you think is the best. And that's it really. I just wanted to pop up and say that. It is Wednesday, it's raining outside, my dinner's ready, and the rabbits are running amok as per usual. Thank you very much for watching. Happy reading. Bye bye.